Hello, everybody. Welcome to the video and live streaming show. I'm John Lacey, and I'm joined by Sam Proof today, and we're talking all about editing short-form vertical videos, so
Yeah.
YouTube Shorts, Reels, TikTok, all that sort of thing, and the software that we use. So, we are going out to all of the places. So, if you are in the chat, please say hi. We'd love to hear from you, and also, I guess specifically about what you're doing with short-form video, if anything. So, hi Sam, how are you doing this week?
Doing good. Had a bizarrely up and down week, but today is a good day. How have you been?
I've been pretty good, although I am feeling my age, and today actually is my birthday in my time
Oh,
zone at the moment. So
happy birthday in the
thank
future.
you.
I'll come back tomorrow and say it again in my time zone.
Sure. So I guess obviously we've seen the rise of this short form vertical video. I know we've spoken about this on a number of occasions, but I thought today it might be a really good opportunity to talk about how we actually created ourselves. I know that Sam's going to talk to us about CapCut, and I'm going to
Yep.
talk to you a little bit about Camtasia. So I guess Sam, maybe if you can speak a little bit about what it is about CapCut that you actually like using and working with it.
Sure. So one of the nice things about CapCut is it is both a desktop app and a phone app. So I actually didn't even know the desktop existed at first and was just doing it because I needed something quick to edit TikTok videos on the go, because editing within TikTok can be a bit of a pain. And then you have to, I want to be able to repurpose it. So you have to go then download it, but you have to find a special site to download it without the watermark, blah, 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 blah. So having it all cut in one place and then being able to share it out from there was better for me. And then I found out they had the desktop app and I was like, this is great. One of my favorite things about CapCut um, is that it has an auto captioning functionality, which works pretty good. So that is why I'm using this particular tool for vertical video.
Nice. We'll talk a little bit about captioning a little bit later on. I guess in terms of Camtasia, Text Camtasia is and why I use it, I suppose, is it's a piece of video editing software, and I think broadly speaking, most pieces of video editing software all do the same sort of things. The thing that is Camtasia's superpower is its ability to record your screen. So as someone that likes to teach about software and concepts, it's a really great opportunity for me to sort of capture my screen and just have the ability to not just grab the screen itself, but also some of the metadata that comes along with it. So things like the movement of the mouse, you can zoom in and zoom out, you can blur out sensitive information, all those kinds of things, which make it really, really useful. Um, I'll talk a little bit in a moment about actually recording because I guess that is something that I do within this piece of software that I don't think you can do in CapCut on the desktop. But we'll
Not
explore
on the
that in a little
desktop.
bit. No.
Not on the desktop, but on the mobile app, unless they've
And
changed it and I don't know.
I mean, I did have a bit of a look because I have, in anticipation of this episode, I have been playing with CapCut on the
Nice.
desktop, and I must say it looks like a really good piece of software. But
Yeah.
I should just say, just as a side note, I'm not a mobile creator, generally speaking. If I need to do anything other than a very, very simple edits, like I want to go to my computer. That's where I'm most comfortable. But I guess another thing that I really enjoy about Camtasia is the ability to build a library of content and easily
Mhm.
reuse and repurpose that content. Because as people who have seen this show once or twice before will know, I'm very passionate about actually doing that. So,
Yeah.
I mean, Sam, you mentioned that you're not recording in CapCut, so maybe if you can just let us know your current process and what you usually do in terms of getting that video in the first place.
Sure. So I basically have either a planned video where I'm going in and I've most of the time going to be recording on my phone. So I'll have that up here almost in front of where this camera is. But I want to get it in that vertical format originally. Um, and that'll be a scripted one. I'll have a prompter going or something like that. And then I'll import that into a hard drive and then into CapCut from there. Or I am taking one of my previous live streams and cutting that down to a clip. which is what I'm going to show you today. For things like the Cute Avalanche Kitten Cam, we do 3 chats a week. We often have very important things that we want to get out to our community in different places. So I'll go in, drop the entire live stream in, and just pick out the parts I want people to hear.
Sure. So I guess, and I've already alluded to it a little bit, but one of the great things about Camtasia, for my use of it anyway, is to actually record the screen. And I talk about this all the time, but I actually made a graphic because I figured this might be easier way of explaining it. But if you are recording your screen for short form vertical video, it's really great if you can physically move your monitor into that position. So I'm very fortunate in the sense that I've got a monitor here that the basically is it's on monitor arms, so I can repurpose it. I can reposition it essentially and change it from horizontal to vertical. And then it's just a matter of sort of right-clicking on the desktop, going to personalize, and just adjusting those settings. So I usually go from landscape to portrait flipped. And the only reason I use portrait flipped is just that's a little bit easier on the cabling that's involved with that. So that's one thing that is really, really worthwhile exploring. So if you can physically change the orientation of your screen to capture proper 1080 by 1920, that way you'll have to do a lot less sort of cropping and zooming and stretching of the things that you've recorded.
Yeah,
I
that's
guess,
awesome. I literally just got monitors that rotate so that I could do exactly that.
and it's funny because I was thinking about it for the longest time, and I one day I just went, I should just try it. I just gingerly
Great.
rotate it on the arm, and it was fine. It worked
Yeah.
perfectly. So I guess I might just bring in Camtasia so we can talk about it a little bit. So this is TechSmith's Camtasia. This is sort of the opening screen here. And one of the things I do like about this is that I can actually record within Camtasia. So they have a number of different products, Audiate, which is basically their version of Descript, and Snagit, which is sort of a image... sort of a screen capture and annotation, but predominantly for images rather than videos. So in this case, if I go to the new Camtasia video recording option, and I'll just wait for that to pop up. There's a good chance it may pop up on another screen, so we'll just give it a second. There we go. I'll just drag it over here so you can see it. So essentially, we have all these different options. So I have the ability to record a screen, and I can, record screen 1, screen 2. I can have a custom region. I can change sort of the orientation. There's even a 640 by 640 by 640 square for Instagram, which again, I think Instagram's evolved a little bit since the last update here. But I've got the ability to record the screen. I can record my web camera or my my whatever I'm using as a web camera. So in this case, I'm actually coming through the cam link, which I'm using on the stream, so it's not actually available here, but I could certainly turn that on. I've got the microphone, so again, I can choose my input here, and again, I'm coming through the Rodecaster Pro, so I've got that good to go. And I can actually record the system audio as well. So the nice thing about this is that these will all come in as separate assets. So, if there's times where I want to show the screen and me, I can do that. If I want to hide me in a certain points, if I want to hide the screen, I can do that as well. But also, you kind of have the option to... I sort of describe it as building a video rather than recording a video, because I think sometimes we want to do everything and we just assume, like, you hit start, you do all of things, and then you hit stop and you're good to go. But I can actually record the screen. I can record myself separately. I can narrate on top of it. We're all very used to the documentary style narration on things. So you really do have a lot of options here. So that's one thing that I really, really do enjoy about Camtasia as a recording medium.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, so I guess before we go too much further, we should probably talk about this. And again, I'm jumping all over the place, but here we go. So embracing the constraints of short form vertical video. So, I mean, there are two here that I think are really worth unpacking. Obviously, and the clues are in the name. we've got two things here. One is the length of the video. So
Hmm.
this depends a little bit on the platform, but sort of anywhere from 15 seconds to 60 seconds. And the
Yeah,
other
and
thing,
even as low as 7 for certain platforms.
sure. And I guess the shorter and the snappier and more on points, the better, generally speaking. So you've got that, and of course, we're actually working in that vertical orientation. So is there anything that you think we need to keep in mind in terms of doing that, Sam?
Yeah, I think one of the things that makes short form so awesome when it comes to like viewership and watch time and things like that. Viewership is watch time. You will have people specifically stick around in a video and rewatch it multiple times. So the audience retention on a short video is likely to stay above 100%. On the micro shorts, like those 7 to 15 second ones. Whereas you look at like a standard YouTube video, if we were to go back and look at the replay of this live stream in an archive form, we'll probably have, a good 30% drop off within the first 2 minutes, if that. I have these micro shorts that are 7 to 15 seconds that have a 200% watch time, like audience retention. It means they have watched through it at least 2 cycles before they went, oh, okay, it's done. And what really helps you with that is a knowledge of like sort of a natural looping. And I'm probably not going to get into that so much in my example, but I might have something where I can show that off that I've previously done and how I did that. So yeah, if you can get a sense on all of the sort of major things that bring people in, like a strong title, a strong image, a strong hook to get them in for the initial second or two, and then find a really fluid loop. It'll keep them sticking around for a cycle or two more, and that's amazing. I'll have a 7 second video with 15 hours of watch time. Just seems like
Yes.
insane.
And I mean, I've certainly had this experience where I've been watching TikToks or YouTube Shorts, and I'm physically moved away from my phone, but I've got my
Oh yeah.
Bluetooth headphones on, and it just loops forever until I
Right.
physically come in and flick to another video.
Like, I
So
can't listen to this anymore.
yes, exactly. So just in terms of Camtasia, I just wanted to talk about those two things specifically. So first of all, uh, I guess it's worth mentioning too that whatever the first piece of media is that you drop onto the project timeline, it'll kind of default to those that orientation and that size. But if you wanted to manually change that, you can go to the File menu and go to Project Settings. There are a whole bunch of different defaults in here, but to the best of my knowledge, I don't think there is one that's actually for vertical video yet. There's a really good chance that'll come out in the next upgrade. But essentially, all I do is go to custom for the canvas size, and I just reverse these values. So we go 1080 by 1920. I mean, optionally, you could adjust the color or the frame rate, but once I've done that, I'm pretty much good to go, and you'll see that you've got that there. Another thing that I find quite useful, and I must admit, I like to jam pack a lot of information into my shorts, and probably too much information if I'm being honest. So I sort of, one of the things, we do have this marker track, and if you don't see that marker track, you can go up to the view menu and go to hide or show marker with Control M. But basically, all I do is sort of sometimes it helps if I zoom in a little bit to get a nice accurate version of this. But essentially, all I really want to do is just put a little bit of a visual mark here at the 1 minute point, just to remind myself that anything that's happening after this, everything in my video should really be happening back here. So that's just a couple of things that I do in terms of editing in Camtasia for this specifically. But again, just keep those constraints in mind. And I think sometimes, especially if you're coming from the world of horizontal video, it can take a bit of getting used to. So just hang tight, because I think it is worth the opportunity.
Yeah.
All right.
I think Camtasia definitely has a few things that CapCut doesn't, and vice versa. Um, But
Though
yeah,
I
I
guess
can
one
into
thing
it.
that we really should call out is the fact that CapCut is literally free, and I think the last time I
Yes.
checked, Camtasia was $300 or $400 worth. So
Oh yeah.
keep
Yeah.
that in
That.
mind. And I've been using this forever, and I've only just started really using it for short form video, vertical video recently. But
Yeah.
I think it's, and I guess that's the other thing that I kind of encourage people to think about. Often the best video editing software is the one that you know how to use,
Yeah.
because you've got some muscle memory. You've actually got the efficiencies built in. So unless there's a really compelling reason to switch, I probably would encourage you to stick with what you know. Or if you
Right.
do want to change, just be aware that everything comes with a learning curve, and you're going to have to invest some time and some research, and
Yeah.
maybe a little bit of training.
Case in point to that, I've always been like an Adobe Premiere person since very early on, and recently, after my last job went away, lost my license for that. So this is why I was exploring these things, and CapCut was kind of the first one I got, just because I could do it on my phone. Um, but like DaVinci Resolve looks like a great program. I just haven't gotten over those hurdles of like, where's what now. But again, that is a free program, DaVinci Resolve, for the most part free. There's some super pro things that most people don't even need that they do charge for, but otherwise looks like a great software.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because it is really, really cool. I guess the one thing I would just let everybody know up front that I didn't know about until I downloaded it is that it is a 3 GB downloader. So just keep that
Yeah,
in mind. If
yeah,
you don't have great internet, just bear that in mind. Um, but essentially, it does a lot of great things. It does have some paid functionality, but I was surprised
mhm,
how little I needed any of it.
yeah, yeah,
And back when we used to record this show offline and sort of bring it in together, they have a really easy and rather elegant multicam selection. So,
hmm
or option. Essentially, you sort of you bring the two clips together, and once they're good to go, you literally hit the one or two key
yeah.
on your number pad, and you're kind of good to go. It's really
That
quite
sounds
amazing.
very similar to Adobe Premiere's multicam feature, which is great. Those both
Mhm.
sound super easy. Yeah.
Think you're a cat on me a little bit there, Sam. But hopefully it's just a glitch
Uh-oh.
in the.
Okay.
Okay,
Back.
I think you're all right now.
Better.
Yep. Okay,
Okay.
cool.
I had
Oh.
my this is my first time we're going out to my LinkedIn page, so I had brought that up just to make sure it was working. Apparently too much.
I
Sorry about
must
that.
admit, if I'm being completely honest with you, the minute I opened Camtasia, my poor computer's starting to I can hear the buzzing in the background, but that's all right. It's doing its best on a Saturday morning here in Australia. So this is the video and live streaming show. I'm John Lacey, and this is Sam Proof. And today we're talking all about editing short form vertical video. So your YouTube shorts, your reels, your TikToks, and the different pieces of software that we actually use to do this. So I think let's talk a little bit about actually editing. So do you want to talk about this first, Sam, or do you want me to go first?
I'll go first. Doesn't matter to me.
Okay, awesome.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll bring your screen on. So this is CapCut. Talk to us about
Yeah,
CapCut.
so this is CapCut. I backed out, so this is the sort of home page that you'll see. If you have projects, they'll show up here. You can start a blank project, and it just takes you right into the editor, which is pretty similar to most of the other editors. I'm actually going to go back out real quick and open one that I started, just because, as I said, oh, hang on. Is this not the one? I guess I lost my import. Okay. Well, I guess I didn't start one then. So yeah, this is your blank canvas. At the bottom here, you have your timeline. This will be your media section in the top left, and then your preview player right here, and then your details if you want that. Let me go and grab the piece of footage I want to use today. So I'm going to go into past broadcasts. Oh boy, it's being slow, which is super fun. There we go. And I'm going to go into my ISO folder, and we're going to grab from 119, drop that in there. It's actually very fast. That is like a 2-hour piece of footage.
Nice.
And as with most editing softwares, there's 2 to 3 to 4 ways of doing anything. So I can just drop that right into my timeline, and I can trim from here. I can, go into the middle and cut right there. There we go. I could even do it before I bring it in by dragging the handles on this. And, I could drop it in at that point, and there it throws it right in the middle. So let me get rid of that. What I want to do today is we're going to find a moment. Let's just back out. In this chat that we had, and we were talking about this kitten here. I had some major movements. Has been a little sick. So we want to make a quick TikTok video, YouTube short video to give people an update on that. First off, we're going to go into our player, hit this button that currently says original, and that'll bring up our aspect ratios. And we're going to flip this to a 9:16 for vertical. And then I can just manually zoom in here. I can pull this scale thing here if I want. So again, multiple ways to do stuff. And there, let's go in there. I do want to point out they have these hotkeys, which are always good times. And they have two main, they don't have a lot of hotkeys, but they do have the important ones. They also, this is their default, is shortcut 1. And it's B and A for your most important keys. But if you're familiar with Premiere and other things that mimic Premiere, go to shortcut 2, and now you have those keys. They're close but different. So I use that. Okay, so we're not going to take up too much time here, but I can move this around manually to center my wife, who's going to be delivering the most important parts of the conversation that I want. See if I can actually find that moment. Okay. Okay. So I'm just going to drag to here. We're going to find our endpoint. Something like that. I'm making it up as I go along, obviously. But so I can zoom in with the plus or minus to adjust how close in on that timeline I am. Obviously, this is a longer clip than I would probably make for just a normal TikTok. But in this particular instance, this is the kind of thing we want. Speaking of things we want, I'm going to grab some pictures, some videos of the cat in question. Because, we want to see that cute cat. So here we go. Here's a few of those. And I think we have pictures and videos here. Let's just grab everything. And we'll once again just drag and drop. There they are. And I can throw those right into the timeline on a new layer, just like, Premiere or whatnot, and position those where I want them. There's different snapping and things that will make this easier or more fluid for you that you turn on and off. But we're going to leave it like this. I'm going to mute the that whole track with this mute thing. You can also obviously hide the entire track. And when you've got to a point where you want it like it is, you can lock the track so you don't accidentally mess it up. We're going to just grab the rest of these so I can, oops.
And maybe while you're doing that, I don't know if this was an intentional typo or just a wonderful pun, but Garen Belaney on LinkedIn is saying, "Talk cat cut to me, baby."
That's good. Speaking of typing, I wanted to point this out. This is your title of your project. This gets generated based on when you create that, but you can just go click into this and type whatever you want. So that is 117. Put a hyphen in there. So we have our title thing. Yeah, this is roughly what we want here. I'm going to pull in on some of these clips so that the cat is zoomed. and you can do quite a bit much more here. If I bring two clips together, we can go into some of the cool things that CapCut does have at the top here on the left. So they have their original sound library from TikTok. They are a ByteDance company, so they have a lot of crossover with TikTok. So if I wanted to find a nice sound to go under all of this, I can find that from here. And they have a bunch of different categories. So I'll just drop into blog. I know you guys can't hear the tracks over here, which we did because it was too late to pull that off well. So, but
and frankly, there will probably some copyright implications for doing that on all the various platforms too.
Probably fair. Yeah. So we can do that. We can adjust the volume of this audio by either dragging the timeline, or as you can see reflected up here, we have the readout as well. So I'll go right down to about a 20 on that, minus 20, I mean. Actually, for this, sounds like 16 is great. And we're just going to drop this down and pretend that's where the edit is for the sake of the show. If we wanted to do some custom text, we can add custom text real easily. We just hit that button. It drops it here. We can reposition it visually here, add our text over on the right window here. And I'll just, yeah, Tuesday. Actually, let's do dumpling update. The dumpling is the cat in question who has just been a little bit on the sick side recently, and we rushed her over to our rescues clinic. So if you're familiar with TikTok itself, you're familiar with the sort of styles they have for all of those text things, which is great. These built-in style creations and whatnot, which you can see reflected up here immediately. So that looks good. We can adjust how long that's on screen. There you go. And how did this get down here? That's interesting. It looks like it was a bug. So I'm going to throw that right in between these two clips, and we'll grab a transition here and just do that for a little dynamic fun. And boom, there you go. So yeah, it's got a big list of transitions. You could throw some stickers on there for some fun things. If you want a subscribe button at the end of your video and things like that, drop that in. I'm not really going to do that. If you want to call attention to anything, you have an arrow, you have a circle, all those kind of things. You got a bunch of emojis just if you want the viral feel of a TikTok video. In effects, this isn't linked to TikTok, has a very wide UCG effects library. It doesn't have access to all of that, but it does have a bunch of crazy effects if that's the kind of thing you're going for. Just to show one of these off. There you go. Pixelate everything, blur things. It's not quite the level of like an Adobe Gaussian blur filter or anything like that, but it does some fun stuff. Like this edge glow has a very viral thing going on where it'll yeah. I think this video is too long for it to render all of that right, but you can see what it would look like. And once we've made our cuts, we've done our edit, we've got the sound we want, any of the built-in stuff there, clips and all that. I want to do one last thing, which is going to take me a second to remember where it is, but I imagine it's in here. Yeah, we go into text, and we're going to do auto caption.
Yep.
And yeah, we don't have anything. We're going to select our language is fine and create. It'll take a little bit because it's probably, well, I guess I cut it down to 2 minutes, right? But
I guess that is the benefits. So because you're working with short form vertical video, it's
most rendering
even if you do a large file size, like it's not going to be the same as a complete documentary or whatever. So I mean, if you can, so I don't know if it's generated the captions, but
Yes, yeah, it has.
if you can sort of talk about the captions a little bit, but before we do that, I just want to, and again, I know I'm gonna be the grumpy old man that puts on his accessibility hat, but just make sure that the captions are actually technically correct because uh,
Yeah.
Ariel Nissenblatt, who's sort of big in the podcasting space, she was sharing a video about a podcast episode she made recently, and I watched the whole thing to get the part of the text said, I wanted to tell you about my hairy episode. And I'm
Oh yeah.
like, hairy episode? Like, what the hell is she talking about? And it turns out she was talking about Harry, as in Prince Harry. I don't know if it's difficult to do on the mobile app or if people are just really lazy. But honestly, just go in, check the spelling, make sure it says what you actually said.
Yeah.
Not everyone needs that, but I think everyone appreciates that, and the people that do need that probably need it to be correct.
Yeah. So, okay, it has rendered everything. If you see, it has created this top level of these little red clips here. That is our auto captioning. So they're all sentence by sentence created. So we'll just go into one of those right now. And I'm just going to blow up my timeline a little bit so you can actually see the text show up in the timeline as well as up here and of course in the window, but it's a little too small right there. So we'll blow this up. We'll bring it up to a relatively safe area for readout because down here on TikTok, no good. I can apply my style to it, and that'll apply to everything if I have this checked. So now this one over here has it as well. And we're probably going to want to go in and give that a little return so we can blow it up even bigger. And yeah, Nathan asks when next Michigan stream, which is pretty much actually how he said it. So that is accurate. If we look in this one, let's select that and do the same thing. Boom. And drop that. So it's pretty good, pretty quick about adding these styles. And you just have to kind of go in one by one to see where you want any kind of line breaks to happen and readjust. And if you want to make specific adjustments to one in particular, take off that apply to all and you'll be good. Like, oh man, this one seems super important. Let's go red and bigger. Okay, that one's that. But everything else, still the blue, which is great. Love that. Let's do that a little bit. You can do more than just those simple styles. They do have animation things, and we can throw these animations onto clips as well as our text. So I want this to, boom, it pops up, right? We can do an in, we can do an out. So I'm going to have it wave. No. We'll have it glitch out. And then here you go. That I don't believe has an apply all. That would be interesting if they did that. That would be nice, but no, you would have to do the animation one by one on that.
And I guess,
you can also,
I sorry to interrupt, Sam.
Go ahead.
I am the grumpy old man of video, obviously, but I guess the thing I want to encourage people to do is maybe just have a little bit of design restraint and not use all of the animations. I mean, you don't want to make people motion sick.
No.
You kind of want to think, is there enough contrast between the text and the background to actually be able to see and read the text, that kind of thing. But I mean, you've demonstrated how easy it is to get started, and obviously, people can go and download CapCut, and it probably is a really great entry level option for a lot of people.
Yeah, I can wrap this up. I think the only things I really want to point out, if you're doing a video that does not have talking in it already, they also have a text-to-speech reader. And a variety of, just look at this. This is a whole couple dozen different voices you can choose through. They're not too robotic. Some of these are pretty good. Some of these are a little, that one's ridiculous. Sorry you couldn't hear that, but also I'm glad. So yeah, it has text to speech. It has some motion tracking abilities. You can do green screen on here. You can, gosh, I forget if they have a digital background remover. I think they might. And then exporting is just as simple as this. you've already got your, your video stuff set from bringing it in, but you can change this. Like I had the ability to export just the audio so that I could do a podcast, but here we're going to do video export. We do all of these things. We can change our settings if we want. Let's do
There's
that.
there's actually one part about this that I specifically wanted to ask about, and that's the cover. Have you used the cover feature?
I haven't. So it does have a cover feature, and when you go to export, so right now it's just going to save locally to whatever folder you want, and I'll do that, and it should be relatively quick. Once you're done with this, it's going to bring up a social sharing screen, and you can link your TikTok account as well as your YouTube account, and you can export directly to those platforms instead of manually uploading on your own. And I assume that's where the cover comes into play. I have not done that because I like to just do everything else on my own terms.
Because I
So
imagine the
yeah,
only
I don't
place
know.
people are actually seeing that cover is if they go to your TikTok profile.
Yes, yeah,
Because I mean,
yeah,
the minute
because
the video is served up to you, you're watching the video. You're not really waiting for it to load unless you've got a particularly tragic
right,
connection, I suppose.
yeah, with all of the vertical platforms, YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, and TikTok, they just go. There is, the only time you're seeing that cover is when you go to someone's profile. So it's probably under 5% of the viewers ever see that, if 5%, maybe even less. So I
It's
wouldn't worry
it's a
about
bit
it
of a
too
culture
much.
shock,
But
sort of coming from the horizontal YouTube thing, where
yeah,
the thumbnail is all important
that's
to
yeah,
this
the
this brave
cover
new
is
world.
you know, probably the most important thing next to the title. It's probably more important than the title half the time. So yeah, it's a brave new world. Coverless world.
And again, like I think we've spoken about this in the past, but obviously you want to customize the content a little bit for individual platforms. But I'm thinking,
Yeah.
just watching you do that, like if you recorded hi TikTok, hi Instagram, hi
Yes.
YouTube, and just replace those clips. And again, you can use the TikTok music on TikTok, but you can just remove it and export it again for YouTube. So I
Yeah,
mean,
and and I'd like to point out to that effect, you can go right back into that project after you've exported it. You could duplicate it from the home page and then just change. Boom! I just made it into a square. The friggin' auto capture, everything's right there. That looks perfect. Um, like no adjustments needed at that point. Uh, Obviously, I have to push in on some of those things, and I didn't adjust any of those before I did it. But yeah, you can make multiple pieces of content super quick this way.
nice. All right, cool. So thank you for that. So, it's one of those things. There are a lot of video editing softwares out there.
Yeah.
But I do feel like CapCut would be the one I'd be recommending to new people because it is relatively straightforward. It is free. It's a great place to dip your toe a little bit into video editing. And obviously, we're talking about vertical video today, but you're not constrained by that. You can certainly change those dimensions from that screen, which is
Yeah,
awesome.
I would just as easily use this for, some long form, some shorter long form stuff. I'm not cutting a feature film on here probably, but I don't
Hmm.
think you could, I think you could if you wanted to. I think it's not something I'm going to do on my phone. I'd use the desktop app to do something like that. If I wanted to do like a YouTube uh sketch comedy video, I would probably do this if I didn't have Adobe, you know.
Yeah, yeah, and like I said, DaVinci Resolve is amazing, but again,
It
you're going to
is.
have to spend some serious time sort of investing some knowledge and some skills into that space. So, that's really cool though. I sort of downloaded it like a week ago just to have a bit of
Yeah.
a play in anticipation of today's session, and I must admit I'm quite impressed. So it's definitely worth checking out. So I think let's talk a little bit about editing in Camtasia now. So I will just share my screen. And again, obviously, Camtasia is a product you will need to purchase. They do have I think a month free trial, so if you wanted to check it
Mhm.
out, you can do that. But essentially, what you see here is sort of the recordings that I've done. So I've got the recording screen recordings. Okay. So there, essentially, I've got these two things on the track. So I've actually got the screen recording, which is this one. I can toggle it on and off to give you a sense of that. And I've also got the me in front of a green screen. So what I'll do, and I've already sort of set this up for the right orientation. I'll just change the scale over here to 100% because I know I filmed this sort of in that format. Um, I sort of play around with this a little bit. I'm obviously not. If I bring this up, you can see that I'm not actually recording here vertically. But to be honest, I just want to sort of bring myself into the frame. I've got the green screen there. I must admit, a lot of the mobile editing apps use sort of a pretend green screen, and
Yeah.
the software green screen things aren't great, and they usually give me a headache. So I try to avoid them. Um, but essentially, what I've got here is I've got myself in front of the green screen with the microphone. I've got the software demonstration in the background. One of the first things I'll do is come into my visual effects, and we've got an option here called remove a color, so I can drag that on top of my the recording of me specifically. I can come over to the options here. I can grab the color picker, pick sort of a medium green. It's pretty good there, but I think I needed to adjust the tolerance, and I don't know how well you can even see that, but just in the corner there's a bit of spill. I mean, I could crop that out as well. That is certainly another option, but I might just bring the tolerance up a little bit. Essentially, I'm there. And obviously the other thing is I did this whole thing in one single take, and it's way too long, and I do actually end up sort of coming and cutting out a lot of these things. So you've got a couple of different options. I can sort of come in here. I can hold down Shift to select both of these tracks, and we can actually split those with just the S key if we want to do that. And again, I'm not really concerned about what's actually happening here today. I have this is sort of just a example for today's
Mhm.
purposes. But essentially, I can come in, I can cut out all the things that are wrong. One of my other favorite features is to actually come in, and if I right click on these and I've selected both of them, I have ripple delete, which will get rid of both
Nice.
of those tracks, but it'll also join the other ones together. So essentially, I'll come in, I'll make whatever cuts I need to. Um, when I was making this project specifically, I think I got a little bit too carried away, and I actually cut out something that I later needed. And I thought I could bring back the video, but in this case, we have this option to do some voice narration. So, and I kind of love this because I think a lot of people. Actually, before I do that, I'm just going to grab this. The other thing too I should mention is that you can actually crop things. So I could see a tiny little bit of the green screen magic before I did that.
Mhm.
So I might just bring that in. Yep. So anyway, I think, for people that are just starting to make videos, it can be really daunting to be on camera. It can be hard to remember all the things you were going to say. You may not have the luxury of a teleprompter, but you can certainly write your notes in here. Whatever your script is, I don't have anything ready to go. You can select your import. So in this case, I want the stereo one, and I can literally just record some audio here. So I can do that separately, and I think that's a thing that I encourage people to do is like don't try to be looking at the camera and then doing the software demonstration and talking over the top of it. Do what you can, and actually think a little bit more about bringing these things together in that sense. Um, so we can make all the edits that we want to. One of the things, and again, you won't be able to hear this because we haven't been able to share the sound this morning on the live stream, but just because Sam was getting me so enthusiastic about short form video, I thought I'm going to be really clever and I'm going to say, "Did you know?" And then pause for a moment and say, creating a live event in Restream. I don't remember the exact words I used, but something to that effect. And what I did was I actually came in and I just cut that clip so, the second part of it, and I move the "do you know" to the very last bit of the video, so it does actually loop fairly seamlessly.
Nice.
Um, One thing that is a bit of a slightly annoying thing about Camtasia is it doesn't have a way to loop playback. So I literally exported this and I just watched it on YouTube as an unlisted video just to see that it did do what I wanted it to. So that's
Right.
I might need to give them a little bit of feedback because that feature can be quite useful. So I mean you can certainly drag out portions, but I just couldn't get that to loop no matter what I did.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I don't think CapCut does a loop playback either, but what I will do is just copy and paste the entirety of the project back to back, so I can make sure that that loop feels good.
Nice. So I guess some of the other things that are maybe a little bit more Camtasia specific is actually working with the screen capture itself. So what I'll do, I'm actually going to solo this track. So I'm just going to right click on it and go to enable solo track. It basically just means that's the only thing that's playing. And there are a few things that I kind of want to do to this track. And I'll go to annotations first of all. And we do have all these call outs. We've got arrows, we've got shapes. Some of these, they really do look quite dated. And again, that's probably another bit of feedback I'd love to give them. Because I think the tradition of Camtasia, it's very much been for school teachers wanting to demonstrate things to their students. And some of the options are a little bit ugly. But I think, and again, I won't draw too much attention to this, but just where my mouse is currently there on the screen, it actually shows my personal email address. So I kind of don't want that to be there. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to bring out a blur option. Just going to drag this onto the canvas. I probably will need to, or am I doing that onto the track? Okay, that's weird. I have definitely done this before, but anyway, let me just see if I can do this like here. Drag that on. It's gonna make a liar out of me. Ah, it's the joy of lives. I've definitely done this in the completed project, so I'm not really sure why it's doing that for me now. But anyway, so we got blur, we've got spotlight, we've got the highlights. So, you know, I can certainly like if I wanted to maybe only. Maybe I need to do it on. Actually, it's possibly what I need to do is actually bring it on a track. That is so weird. It's the joy of doing things live. They never work for you. I'll
Sure.
just disable all solo tracks, and I'm just curious now to see if I can do it. There we go. Okay.
Hey,
So yeah, I guess I can't do it with the solo track on, but essentially I bring that on there. I'm going to blur that out. And I guess the other thing I'll do, I would probably actually just bring stretches the whole duration
yep.
and probably do that before I start cutting up the video itself. And I can actually come in and just group these things together as a single track too. So that's great. Hi to Joe's joining us on YouTube. Hello, Sam and John. A bit late, but looking forward to watching the replay. That's great. And Joe actually mentioned something that's a bit of a blast from the past for me. Sony Vegas Pro 8 or 16 Magic Studio. I used to use Sony Vegas Studio, I think is what it was called at the time. And it's funny because I started my video editing on Windows Movie Maker, and it was fine, but it crashed like 400 times every time I would try to edit anything. And I was so angry one day, I just went out and bought some software. Um, so yeah, that's a great option. I don't know if I have a feeling Sony don't even own that product anymore, and somebody else is running with it these days. But again, I guess generally speaking, if the software does what you want it to do, keep using it, and that's the other thing about Camtasia is you do buy it outright, and they have a maintenance package where they'll give you the updates moving forward. And I tend to get those updates because I like the company and I want to support what they're doing. But to be honest, I could probably still be using the version I had 6 years ago. There are a few nice features that are in there as well. But anyway, just getting back to what I wanted to show you earlier in terms of some of these other things that we can do. So if we go to animations, we can actually create animations, pans and zooms. They do also have a whole bunch of sort of presets with opacity and scaled fit and smart focus and that kind of thing. But like one thing that I like to do is I might drag a custom animation onto this timeline. Again, I might just zoom in a little bit to give you a better sense of this, but basically you've got this arrow, and you can set some values before and after this. So this, if I go back here, this is where it will start, and if I go to the end here, and you'll see that it's changed to a ready color, this will be where it is afterwards. So in this case, I kind of wanted to zoom in a little bit, so I might just do this with the properties on the right hand side here. I'll go 150. So I can do that. If I go back here, I just want to make sure that it's zoomed into the right place now. And again, I might even need to zoom out a little bit more. I should note too, like you can, I'm working with two screens, and it is possible to detach some of this and have just the video on one side and the players on the other. But because I'm sharing this with you today, I just wanted to do that like that. So now if I go back and we can hit play, you can sort of see what this animation does. And it's just very slowly moves into that position. And again, if I wanted that to be a little bit quicker, I can just change the duration of this. I can just drag it in. But I guess the idea was that I wanted to zoom into the detail so the people watching could really see that quite clearly. And again, you might need to tweak that a little bit, but I mean those are the kinds of things that and again, I can sort of see. Yeah, that would require a little bit of tweaking, I suppose, but you certainly have those options there. Okay, so I guess, and I might even just try and I'll bring up another version of this same project that's sort of more a completed version. So just give me 1 second to do that. But of course, this is the video and live streaming show. I'm John Lacey, and I'm joined by Sam Proof today. Shameless plug, it is literally my birthday today, so any well wishes are greatly appreciated.
Yeah. While you're doing that, I just want to point out that CapCut does actually allow you to use multiple monitors to put your project into another monitor, or even if you wanted the media folder or the player or the timeline could all be in a separate monitor if you wanted.
Yep. There we go. Okay, I think I had a bit of a glitch in the matrix there and lost you, but I think I'm still here. So,
okay.
All right, cool. All right, so I'll just share this. This is sort of more of the completed version of this particular project. So in this case, I blurred that out. I've zoomed into different places. I'm just sort of highlighting the things that, I say that's just the software with the hover effect. There was a point here where I sort of actually narrated the video. So in this case, I'm not on screen, but you can still hear me talking, and I sort of added an extra thing that I kind of left out when I was recording, and I sort of pop back into the screen. And again, I don't know how well this will play this last little bit, but essentially, so like I literally say at the end of this, did you know? And then it goes back to the beginning, and it zooms out, and then the bit in the section, the bit in the middle sort of zooms in, so we get a better sense of how that's working. So, that's great. I guess the other thing that I wanted to mention too is that one of my favorite features about this is the media library. So if there are things that I want to use again and again, and I highly recommend that if you spend any time building something you're proud of, that you use it again and again, and to do things in terms of branding, logos, colors, that kind of thing. We can actually set up a library, and I must admit, at the moment, I probably could add a few more folders here and organize this a little bit better. But I've got things like my coffee and content show. you know, different episodes where I've got different clips that I've pulled out of there. I've got music from Incompetech. This monkeys spinning monkeys is a very popular one on the TikTok app, so I like to use that from time to time. I've got a royalty-free music option called Music Box, and I've got all the things in those categories. But essentially, like if there is something that you've created before and you want to reuse, you know, put it in here. And I've got things like a bit of a subscribe animation, so I can drag this in here. This isn't really designed initially for vertical video, but it certainly could be repurposed in that way. So there are a whole bunch of different elements here. It sort of comes in as some audio that clicks, and you see the button be clicked in that way. I've got a this is from a very early video where I literally come in and sort of do a face palm thing, which is a funny thing to reference from time to time. But I guess the other thing too, like Sam, you were talking about taking that longer live stream and cutting it up into sections. So like if I can pick any, I can just pick a region of whatever clip I'm working on and have a start and end time. And if I right click here, I can go add timeline selection to library, and that way I'm good to go. And that's usually how I actually how I break up those clips from shows like this one, is that I will come in, and sometimes if I'm feeling really organized, I will literally put markers in there and say, you know, at 18 minutes, Sam said this really cool thing about community building. And that way I can clip them out. I throw them in the library. I create a new project for each one, and then I just drag it onto the thing. In fact, hopefully this won't be too time consuming, but I kind of want to show you because it is really quite amazing. So if we go back into our library, you know, I find a clip. So, you know, this is way back. I think this was probably one of the very earliest ones that we actually did live from our holiday streams. But essentially, I've got that there. I can scale it to fit. Or, I mean, alternatively, and I don't know if Garen Bellany is still in the chat with us, but I have actually done one recently sort of inspired by a format that he was recommending. I don't know if I've got it handy is the only thing. Might be this one, actually. And I guess the other thing that's useful, I make a video and I'll export that video for LinkedIn and Facebook, but then I will card, and it's you know, it's really easy to get sort of stuck into that kind of thing. All right, so I don't know. Restream is giving me a few messages about some connection issues, so I'm hoping we haven't lost anybody. But yeah, I hope you've doing today as we've been unpacking some of the different ways that we actually work with short form vertical video. And of course, we have some birthday wishes here. Not that I was fishing for them at all, but Joe's wishing me happy birthday there. Turkey with mole sauce and coloured food dye. Yeah, that sounds really, really good. Okay, I'm actually getting a definition of mole, which I'm hoping I'm pronouncing correctly, but you know.
It looks like it. Yeah.
All right, awesome. We are actually coming up to the hour. It's funny how time flies when we talk about things that we're passionate about. So on next week's show, we're actually going to be talking about YouTube as a live streaming destination. So I'm really keen to unpack that with Sam next week. So if you've got any questions or comments, I'd love to hear about your experiences live streaming on YouTube, whether you're doing that via a third-party service like Restream, like we often do, or whether you're doing that directly through YouTube. I think YouTube is a great destination because there are lots of eyes on there all of the time, but there's also a lot of competition because there's a lot of content there. But we want to talk about some of the things that might be useful for your live streams on that platform, and also some of the things that you might want to think about after you go live. And some of these things I'm just learning about myself as I do this. So I'm really looking forward to that discussion. Sam, where can people find out more about you and watch your videos and do all of the fun stuff?
Yeah, you can find me pretty much on any platform as Sam Proof, and you can find all those links at samproof.tv. and find me live on Twitch.
Nice. And if you want to catch up with anything I'm doing, you can head over to johnlacey.com. Thanks for everybody that's joined us live today in the chat. Big shout out to anyone who might be watching later on. We hope you've found this useful. If you do have questions, let us know wherever you see this video, and we might do another update to this episode. But again, have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your week and your weekend when you get there, and we'll talk again soon.
All right, bye, everyone. Oh, Lisa Murray.